Okay, so obviously this is a current manga chapter, came out today, but I'm just going to, above everything else, bring up the fact that obviously this is gonna have heavy spoilers to the manga. I'm only saying it because I'm going to go into where I believe the series is heading because of the clues that Akutami has laid out, very subtly in the background, that has started to really tick together with the, since the reveal in the flashback not in the flashback, the reveal that after the flashback, leading into volume 0, where it's like you don't know what Satoru does to Geto, and then we see Geto, and then it's like really confusing how he's alive, and then the whole brain scene, he opens up his head and it's got a mouth on it. That is where I think the real big plot Akutami is laying out, because it's been obviously stuff with Sukuna and the characters being having to get stronger to the point of Satoru Gojo himself. That's his whole own personal plot line. So the series has to get to a point with all these super talented people, people like Megumi and Toto, and then people with the high potential, someone like Yuji, as a Sukuna vessel, so they could be so strong that they could just crush all curses and pretty much be better for the whole world. Because that's one of the things about Satoru, is he can't be everywhere, he's not perfect, and if he goes, too many people rely on him, but if they spread it out, then, and there's multiple people at his tier, then bam, you can make life way better, and way less people die. And his own personal plot line, I think, still really needs to be important to the story. I don't think it should be brushed by just because he's kind of out of the story right now in the prison realm. But his whole thing, I think, still is a big, overarching aspect the series is going to have, not just his level and grounded personal goal. But other than that, we've had a character besides Sukuna that has been really hyped up, but it's been very, very momentarily and very subtly. It was back when we were finding out about Choso, Eso, and Kechizu's backstory. It was Kamo Noritoshi. He was like the worst shaman ever in terms of evil, powerful guy. I'll just use a comparison. In Fairy Tail, you have Zeref was the most powerful dark wizard in the series, so that'd be kind of the equivalent for Kamo Noritoshi. And in the series, we have now some weird creature has taken over Geto's body, but there are sentences throughout the series that imply he's not a curse. And Kamo Noritoshi was this master of cursed objects and whatnot, so it's very likely he somehow figured out a way for himself to live. And from what we know about Akutami, the writer, is that they're I'm pretty sure Akutami was a confirmed female. I don't know. I've been going to female, but Akutami's was a fan of Bleach, which means big thing about Bleach characters like Mayuri and Aizen, which kind of fit into this idea of Kamo Noritoshi if it is revealed that this is that character, because it's all clicked into what I think makes the most sense. Because otherwise, why do you have a character who apparently isn't a curse, that's a brain inside of a body that's taken over Geto's body? And I'm really curious if the Geto the Geto kind of control piece that's still in there, as we saw, still fighting a little bit for a control. I'm really curious if that's going to ever kind of come back. But this chapter, it made me really sad, but it made a lot of sense, because I was not surprised about Kusakabe, because we got the whole part first about it's right before the Toto and I can't remember the other character's name meet up with Yuji to fight Mahito, and then you see Panda find Kusakabe, and Kusakabe living, I'm not surprised. People have pointed out he's kind of like that. He's the closest thing to a joke character the series has, because he somehow always lives, seemingly. He's just somehow just seems to just scrape right on by. And then Meimei was weird, but I guess Meimei's kind of makes sense when you think about it. Her and her brother just ran, they just escaped. I don't really care to talk about anything that was going on with hers. It was just weird stuff with her brother. I was I don't really care. I wanted to see Mei fight, and it's like, if she's not gonna fight, she's confirmed that she got away somehow, she escaped, okay, whatever, but I don't need to sit around and see her talk about a bunch of stuff. I mean, I don't know, it's just like talk about like what, like money and stocks or something. Boring for the time. Like we're in the climax area of the arc, like big stuff is all going on, big moving parts are happening. We want to know that stuff, not very quiet, okay, we're gonna lay out some business stuff with the series for a character. Cool, Mei should have waited until after the arc, just saying. But Choso stuff is really interesting because now Choso has the memory in his head of times with Yuji, and Yuji seems to have this power where people remember things that never happened but him involved, like we had that with Toto, and now Choso. So I'm wondering really, like, what is the plan with Choso? Because I thought if Choso wasn't going to win the fight, he would die this arc. I'm really surprised he's surviving. He's going to be a continuous character, but I'm happy about that because I like his character. So again, very, very curious to know what comes next for him. That I'm very much hyped for. And I really don't want it. All I'll say actually to that is I don't want it to be something like Black Clover right now. Mars was kind of that character where it's like, you know, he was a bad guy at first, and then he's in kind of a weird position, and then he later became like an allied. We haven't seen him since like chapter 101 or something. Like, it's been years since we've seen him. I don't want Choso to be sitting in the back forever. I don't want him to be Grimmjow. Okay, if it'd be like maybe one arc that he kind of sits off by, and then we get him back, but I don't want him to be gone too long. But man, the Geto stuff, or like people will call it Geto because it's the brain inside, you know, inside the body of Geto, or brain invader, some people have called him. It's him actually in there, and you could tell from the way that he's talking to them, and he's like saying he'll save Mahito. He figures out a way that he can keep Mahito from dying to Yuji, and Yuji figures out who he is. You know, he knows about the stitch faced Buddhist. He knows about him enough from just like stories and stuff, and probably relations to Satoru Gojo's past and whatnot. And the thing about like this character again that I think really clicks, like imagine this, because Geto was already like a pretty smart, powerful guy because he was a special grade human, but the way that this guy talks makes me think both obviously old, because he's like in the mid Edo period, people connected catfish to earthquakes and spoke of the connection as a mystery and believe a giant earthquake moving underground was the cause of the earthquakes. And we know that's how like curses are formed, you know, fears of things and people letting out their curse energy. So it would make a curse in relation to like those stories of people being scared of these like giant catfish monsters creating earthquakes. So this guy, like, again, Kamonori Toshi is somebody that lived hundreds of years ago in the story. So this character somehow living as this brain, him kind of like speaking in the context of the curses, like where they originated from, like on a fear wise, and him using them more like a strategist, as like, because with Geto, he was also a martial artist. Like, he would do the summons, but he'd also fight. Like, this guy, again, he's more of like Aizen. Like, he can fight, but the way he primarily likes to is just being like, you know, having a massive plethora of abilities that he's really good at, and then just dropping them on you and toying with you kind of thing. He's just a big, massive, powerful troll, because he drops like the weird catfish curse, and it makes like this big, odd circle creature looking thing below Yuji, and that just kind of rattles him and it makes him fall down. And then this weird like centipede like venom creature just starts to grapple him and tear him all up, and he's in not good shape. And again, the point that I know it makes so much sense, like when he's talking about the previous year, because if you haven't read volume 0, you wouldn't know about when Geto caused like a big commotion and Satoru had to kill him. So like volume 0 is really important. That's like the really annoying thing right now for people reading the manga. If they don't, actually, I think there are translating volume 0 next month, now that I think about it. And so the anime has to make sure that they put it in a good spot, because it has to happen inside of one continuous story. Because, like, say the anime doesn't do it, it screws up all portion of the story, because you wouldn't know what happened. So I think they're smart enough to know to put it in there. But when he's talking about this, he's like, last year during the night parade of 100 demons, if the forces haven't been divided between Shinjuku and Kyoto, because Geto had his minions all like cause a commotion that Satoru showed up for, where Yuta and Geto fought one-on-one, and he's like saying if he had all of his minions and won, then he would have won instead of Yuta. So it's unfortunate, but like to think about, because that's kind of like where Geto drops at the moment. Like, unless he somehow comes back, like this has been that we've seen the continuous story outside of Volume 0. This is and the flashback. This has been the brain guy, the brain invader, as we've been calling him. But him doing this to Mahito, it hurts, because I like Mahito. Mahito is really cool as a villain. Like, he's a terrible person, but as a bad guy, he really works, and he's entertaining on top of that. But you gotta think of this. If this is Kamo Noritoshi, right? Is this... I'm trying to remember if I'm getting his name right, because there's another guy who has a very similar name. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Kamo Noritoshi Jujutsu Kaisen, because the other one is like Toshinori. And it's gonna bother me if I'm getting it wrong this whole time. Kamo Noritoshi. Let me see. And Noritoshi Kamo. But where's the other guy? He's like in oh my god, this is gonna bother me if I don't find it. Yeah, Noritoshi Kamo. It's in reverse. Okay, sorry. Why is it just in reverse? Why did Akutami make so many names so similar that sometimes it bugs the hell out of me? Hanami, Nanami, and stuff like this. But him... You gotta think like this. So this is a guy who was like this... Oh no, sorry, 150 years ago. For some reason I thought it was 500 years ago. But he was like this super high level dark sorcerer who was like a master of cursed objects and whatnot. And you're able to get your hands on like taking over a body of some... like, I can't remember exactly what... Actually, no, never mind. I had that chapter pulls up. I was gonna say that I forgot exactly what the name of what Geto's technique is, but I remember he says it. God, where was it? I can't remember exactly the name of it. It's just like cursed spirit manipulation for Geto. His is super. It's super simple. It's super simple names like that. I always forget. It's one of those things about like when you have so many flashy names. When it gets to like ones that for the most part are very like Denji's Denji super flashy. Yuji's Divergent Fist is like, it's cool, but it's like one of the most boring like main character abilities. But oh yeah, what he says, the strength of cursed spirit manipulation. That he the way he talks about it too, he's like saying he wields all these other cursed spirits, and he just has all these crazy like little tricks at his disposal, and that's like the true value of that power. That's kind of like how the true power of Megumi's ability is just the limit of like the more powerful the user can get, the more powerful Shikigami that they can put under their control, so they can climb the ladder way heavier than most other people. That's why apparently one of their ancestors, the last person who had the powers that like Satoru Gojo has, the person that rivaled them had the powers that Megumi has. So Megumi has that potential, and that's kind of how I feel about Geto's power, but it fits perfectly with this guy. And in Volume 0, he had a special grade cursed spirits, like Geto did. So this guy, if he's bigger than him having the ability to turn Mahito into like one of his like little curse things he's got to eat to summon him, it makes sense. And I've said so many times in so many videos, even if something you don't like is in the story. For instance, in My Hero Academia, I didn't like that Deku was revealed with One for All to have multiple powers. I didn't like the fact he was I think it was 7. I didn't like that just because like he already was really powerful, and he's got like the ability to get like gadgets and gear that he can get even better. And I was like, why give him so many other powers when like the super strength alone put All Might at the top? And I know that like they said that like people's powers evolve and they get better, but I'm just like, Deku's getting so many crazy powers, but it makes sense in the story. And I've said so many times, like, my personal feelings of how I feel if I don't like something, if it makes sense to the story, I think that's more important. So, and at the same time, I like it that it's, this dude is doing something, and he seems to be, again, like this Aizen level character, where he was actually the mastermind. He was the one controlling and setting everything up, because Mahito was the last one standing, and when Mahito was fighting, I was like, the only other person fighting would be the brain invader inside Geto's body, and his fight seemed pretty easy. I didn't really know what he was going to do, and then he shows up, so I figured this was going to be the end of the arc, because nobody else can really fight, so he would either pretty much be the one to control everything anyway. Like, he could kill Yuji if he wants. Like, how would Yuji even fight him unless Sukuna comes out? But I feel like Sukuna coming out like again would be like too much for the arc, unless it was like some absurd, just I'm gonna give you a godlike battle, like 2 god tiers in the series, like Sukuna and this guy in Geto's body or something. Other than that, though, I think the arc should just kind of come to a close and then, you know, work into what's next, because obviously there's still more to come. And the Shibuya incident, though, has been going on a long time. Like, this is what chapter? It's 133, and this is part. What part of the Shibuya incident was this? Let me see real quick. Let me scroll up, because it's still all the Shibuya incident. Shibuya incident chapter or part 50. So this is more than a third of this series of the Shibuya incident, which again I've really liked. It hasn't been one of those arcs that it's really dragged on. I think it's done really well at giving characters multiple scenes, and just absolutely being a really fun ride, and switching from different perspectives to the point where it kept multiple plot lines all moving forward. So I was really happy about this arc in general. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming next. I don't know if there's going to be anything else. Like, I can't think of any other plot points that could still like show up. I know he has the prison room. He has Mahito as well. Jogo, Hanami, and Dagon are all dead. So the series, this guy is going to usher in whatever comes next in the series, and he's got to be someone important, and it's going to be really interesting to see what exactly Akutami has prepped, because there's still so much more that the series has, and I'm still hoping that Satoru isn't fully written out of the story. Like, if he's trapped in this box, like if Geto keeps the box, like he's got him, Geto or whatever, Brain Invader, and they say he keeps the box, I'm hoping there's a way that he could talk to Satoru. Like, we could have, like, anytime we see one of them, we could see the other and see banter between them. That I'm hoping. I don't want it to him just to be, we never see him again, we just know that he's in a box somewhere in the series. That I really don't want. That I think would be a bad move. But we'll see. But him being in, like, trapped is really important. That's the thing I think is going to be, you got to think about the bright side of him being trapped is, like, him existing kept bad people, like, in secret. So a bunch of bad people and other curses are going to pop up. There's going to probably be way more low-level curses and probably way more, like, just high-level curses all over the place. Probably other special, like, unregistered special grades that were like, I'm not going to go fight that guy. I'm going to stay here. So I think this arc was great. I'm really liking it. If something else happens, I'll be really surprised, but we'll see. Other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this. Like, again, Mahito is really cool, and it sucks this happens to him, but it makes sense. It makes so much sense. And that's the really crazy part of it, because I don't think that last second it turned back to Geto. I think this is the Brain Invader, and we have to find out more about this guy, because if this guy is, like I said, I don't want to mess it up, I even looked up the name, Noritoshi Kamo, and he's been pretty much, like I said, the Aizen of the series, so that he's been masterminding this the whole time into whatever his plan is. I think that'd be great, because that is something the series does need. Like, Sukuna is really powerful and he's a badass, and he's a villain that's just really entertaining to see him just be a monster. But I think the series needs to keep a complicated kind of, like, again, Aizen-esque villain, and that's just the one to kind of compare it to. Someone that's more sinister and more intelligent, just to kind of keep the series from feeling boring. Because Sukuna is like a surprise action scene. He's just like a bonus adventure. Like, he's just, or I guess not bonus adventure. I'm trying to think of what it would be. It'd be like kind of like just like random aid. Like, you're playing Dark Souls and like somebody shows up to help you. And it's really, really fun to see him go there. But until we get to the very end game, I don't want to see him too much, is also one of the things. So I really like this weird twist at the same time. But I'm hoping Mahito, though, isn't just out of here. I'm hoping Mahito is somehow worked back into the story, or something happens with him later. I don't know. It's really odd to see this character reduced to this state as this ball gonna get eaten by this guy. But again, it makes sense, and I understand what I believe I understand again with the Noritoshi Kamo stuff of what this author is doing. But we'll see. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Oh wait, no, there was something I wanted to say. Oh, I'll just, actually, you know what? No, I will say, just read Build King. Anyway, bye.